the next generation of lifestyle awareness that will transform your life significantly. I've been wanting to dive deeper into the WOW framework to become the expert in your body. There's a lot to it, and it's just too much for one episode. Each episode that I've done has some connection to this framework, but without understanding the structure, they each stand alone. And that is perfect for podcasts because you may pop in and pop out. You may or may not have a sequence to your podcast listening. That's why I'm giving you a heads up today. For the rest of this summer season, Living WOW Out Loud will introduce the 8 systems that make up the framework in a sequential series. I'm giving you the map in this introduction so that you have a reference point. If you notice that you're coming in midway, make sure you go back to number 1 so that you have a complete framework. In the following 8 episodes, we're going to address each of the components in the 8-system framework that will teach you to become the expert in your own body and lead to thriving with autoimmune diseases. Each of the 8 systems has been put into a framework with a metaphor of a vehicle on a journey to help simplify the very complex systems and help understand abstract systems that we can't see, but we can certainly feel. The framework to become the expert in your body's 8 systems are: number 1, your battery and electronics; number 2, your fuel; number 3, your maintenance; number 4, your oil; number 5, your driver; number 6, your navigation system; number 7, your driving conditions; and number 8, your indicator lights. In the coming weeks, we will deep dive into each of these systems and understand how that metaphor can be applied to a specific system in your body to assess and understand if that's where you need attention and maintenance. All of these systems come together to define your own personal WOW lifestyle. System 5, the driver. Who is driving your vehicle? Well, your mind, of course. Your mind is an interesting character because it's made up of both a physical organ, your brain, and an energetic intelligence that is eternal. I think of the mind as the bridge that connects the physical body and the energetic spiritual body so that the two realms cross over and communicate in their respective roles. Now, before you check out, because I'm getting too woo-woo on you, consider opening your mind to the concepts, capabilities, and limitations of your mind as the driver of your car in the 8 systems framework. When I refer to mind, I'm referring to both the physical characteristics of the brain, the way the chemicals and neurons send and receive signals in the physical space in your brain, as well as the energetic spiritual intelligence characteristics of the mind, the conscious and subconscious thought processes. Let's start with the physical brain because it's the most easily recognized and understood. The brain literally tells you how to drive the car. The physical characteristics of starting the car, shifting gears, understanding and using safety features like seatbelts and turn signals, and checking your mirrors for other vehicles are completed by the brain, as it tells your arms, legs, and head how to perform the physical actions necessary. Your mind takes over as it looks over the environment around you, searching for threats to getting to your destination. Your mind recognizes the light turning from yellow to red and makes a decision of whether you should stop or go, depending on the risk assessment of how much time and traffic you have to stop suddenly or speed up to make the light. Maybe you've been sitting at a red light with no other cars in sight, and your mind says, just go. There's no reason to sit here and wait for it to turn green. There is no threat. Similarly, your mind tells your brain when the conditions are dangerous to be alert. Send more adrenaline to keep the senses and reflexes sharp because you may have an accident and not get to your destination if you don't pay attention. This is the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, which you likely recognize as the fight, flight, or freeze response. Everything the mind does is for the purpose of getting you to your destination. Your mind is constantly analyzing and processing the conditions, threats, opportunities, and vehicle function. Your mind follows the directions it's told, whether it be from the signs, other drivers, or the navigation system. It functions similar to a computer processing data to provide a particular outcome. What happens when you drive distracted? Sometimes nothing. Have you ever been driving and you suddenly realize that you don't remember driving the last mile or two of your journey? Your mind checked out and went on autopilot, with your brain running the physical aspects with muscle memory, while your mind processes something else it recognized as more important or interesting than your boring drive that you've driven a million times. Until the truck in front of you hits its brakes. Thank goodness it was huge, so you saw it and had time to hit your brakes. Phew, that was a close call. Wait, everyone is hitting their brakes. 4 lanes of traffic are stopped. What's going on? Suddenly, the mind is searching for threats and explanations. After a mile of creeping along, watching the time because now you're running late, you finally see flashing emergency lights and eventually drive by the demolished vehicles from a high speed multi car accident and send up a prayer for those involved, hoping that they survived. In the past 5 miles of your journey, the driver has gone from autopilot to threat detection and response, to threat detection and worry, to threat recognition and response. How your driver processes and responds to those environmental triggers is dependent upon your age, experience, beliefs, and vehicle. Can you see how this analogy plays out in your larger journey of life? It's important to understand the role of the mind and the impact of the information you feed it. Running in a constant state of stress and overstimulation will result at best in a breakdown and at worst, a devastating accident. You've heard the adage, garbage in, garbage out, often used in reference to junk food and poor health. What about the habits, distractions, and information you're putting into your mind? What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you looking at? Who are you spending time with? What are you learning? Do you know where you're going? Are you consuming junk thoughts or healthy thoughts? Although there definitely is a cumulative effect with junk food, by and large, I believe it to be less destructive than junk thoughts. The body is built to filter and release toxins, so generally the junk food is out of your system within a couple of days. Not true with the mind, which is built to retain every thought you have ever had and file it away in case you may need it for reference to survive one day. In fact, the mind latches onto the most threatening thoughts and puts them on a loop so that you have less of a chance of experiencing that same threat again. Don't believe me? Are you perseverating on the compliment a coworker gave you today or the criticism someone else had of you yesterday? Are you glancing into the mirror as you wash your hands thinking how beautiful you look or noticing that your hair is flat? Do you recognize how all of your organs are functioning perfectly and automatically, or the ache in your back today? Are you afraid because of news reports of crime and calamities, or do you realize that you're safe and that most people are good and helpful? It's not because you're a negative Nelly. You're wired for survival, and as such, your mind is wired with a negativity bias, a protection mechanism meant to keep you safe. However, in the modern world, much like bodies are overtaxed with toxins, the mind is overtaxed with stimulation and information. Diligence to filter what you allow in your mind dictates what the mind will loop. Your mind will always gravitate to the negative threat, so consciously filling the mind with active and intentional stimulation and information is the best way to hack the negativity bias. Similar to the healthy strategy of choosing this, not that, when eliminating junk food, you can do the same thing with junk thoughts. Choose intentional rather than automatic. An example may be to learn a new skill rather than scroll social media. The mind is then active in learning and not picking up on derogatory posts or snide memes. Engage a new intention filter and go back to the habits, distractions, and information you are allowing into your mind. What are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you looking at? Who are you spending time with? What are you learning? And where are you going? Awareness makes all the difference in the world. Awareness of junk thoughts is much more difficult, and the lack of awareness is much more insidious. Your body cannot function optimally and thrive if the driver isn't healthy. Like a computer released to the wild internet frontier with no firewalls, antivirus software, malware protection, or security feature, it's only a matter of time until corruption takes hold and shuts it down. However, fortified with the right protection, you can identify risks and routinely scan for threats in a healthy way, being proactive rather than reactive. Coming back to the driver analogy, it's important to recognize that the driver has a distinct role separate from the vehicle, and without the driver, the car is useless. With that said, the driver is limited to only taking in information and processing it. Likewise, the driver has a negativity bias programmed to keep you safe and get you to the destination, but in the modern world can completely shut you down with overstimulation and system failure. By understanding the role and tendencies of the driver, you can support optimal processing and operation. A strong and focused driver is a critical part. Hey, if you find value here on the Living Wow Out Loud podcast, will you please share it with your friends and take a minute to rate it on the platform that you're listening on? That's how we live wow out loud. You know that more people need hope and they need the messages shared. And that's how we get recognized among all the noise. This is where you find your voice. Will you please share and subscribe and rate so that we can grow? After my personal transformation from surviving to thriving with autoimmune diseases, I was completely astounded that the experience was not what I expected it to be. Instead of resenting my body and being forever trapped with a legacy of bad genes, as I had believed would be my fate, I looked and felt 20 years younger. I had dropped weight that had plagued me for decades, eliminated chronic pain that no doctor, therapy, or medicine could relieve, and found energy that I hadn't had since I was 16 years old. Because this is not what I expected, and because I wish someone would have told me that there is another way than sad, I wrote the book, 8 Lessons Lupus Taught Me from Surviving to Thriving with Autoimmune Diseases. As I began to share the book and the message of change your story, Living Wow was born. After years of continuing to learn and study how and why lifestyle has such an impact on disease and the world being torn apart by a global pandemic, I can't stand by any longer keeping it to myself. You have to understand that the power is in your hands. The power is in your body. The power is in your lifestyle. The Living Wow Center is a holistic wellness practice that utilizes the framework of the Living Wow lifestyle to identify system failures or maintenance needs. Whether you just need a tune-up or a complete systems overhaul, we support you as an individual to get back out on the journey and living wow. We will work with you to determine levels of function, needs, tools, resources, and or providers that may be best equipped to guide you as you step out of the negative health cycle and turn it into a positive health cycle. The Living Wow Center offers a revolutionary, comprehensive approach to healing, coaching, and support that is necessary in our complex, sad world. Schedule your complimentary consultation today to see how Living Wow can support you. I'm super excited to announce Supercharge for you. We are changing the name of the Living Wow Challenge to more clearly represent the monthly support program where you take Living Wow for a 10-day spin. I know 10 days doesn't seem like much, but it is. And that's why it's now Supercharge. Living Wow Supercharge is a 10-day supported focus on eating a clean, nutritionally dense diet with intention as you jumpstart into the Living Wow lifestyle. You will feel lighter, more energetic, and empowered with your nutrition. You will experience the power of nutritional healing with less pain, more energy, and a better mood. The Supercharge includes a comprehensive 10-day seasonal menu, recipes, videos, quick start guides, and links to resources. You begin with a prep, then daily support, and wrap up with a review. This is the fastest, most immersive way to get started and feel the effects of Living Wow now. Right now, go to livingwowcenter.com. That's livingwowcenter.com to sign up now for the next Supercharge, running the 1st to the 10th of the month. Early sign up ensures you a spot and gives you time to complete your preparation assignments as you gear up to Supercharge. Wow, you just finished another episode of Living Wow Out Loud. I hope you leave today empowered to live your best life and thrive. If you're ready to jump in and learn a little bit more about Living Wow, come check out the Living Wow Center. That's LIVINGWOWCENTER.com. And maybe consider joining our next Living Wow Challenge. We run the 1st to the 10th of every single month. See you soon.